When I tell people that I was born in Japan, they usually assume that I was in the military, uh, but the truth is I wasn't. My mom was actually a rock singer in a band, and my dad was a chef, so he was working just these ridiculously long hours, just running his restaurants to be able to support our family. When I was 4, we moved back to Connecticut in the U.S. So that way I could go to school and be closer to family. My dad actually stayed behind in Japan so he could run his restaurants and support us while we lived overseas. I remember the summers were some of the greatest times of my life. My dad would come from Japan to the U.S. and we'd spend about 2 to 3 weeks, and we'd do everything. We'd go camping, we'd play mini golf, we'd go to this beach called Rocky Neck, and we'd take these pieces of drumsticks and we'd tie them with string, and then we'd put it in between the rocks and catch all these crabs. And I'd always cry when I had to let the crabs go back in the ocean, but those are some of the greatest memories of my life. During my freshman year of high school, everything changed. My dad called and said that he was diagnosed with stage 4 lymph node cancer, and that he only had a couple years to live if they did the surgery to remove his voice box, so he wasn't going to be able to talk again. So after the surgery, he decided to sell his restaurant and move with us to Sarasota, Florida. This was the first time that I can remember that we all lived together. We just didn't really know how much longer we would be together. Luckily my dad is one of the strongest people that I know. The 2 years that doctors told him eventually turned into 4, and so we were able to just share so many great memories together. He was there when I swore to serve my country and join the military. He saw me graduate from Coast Guard boot camp, so he actually got to go out to my first duty station on Lake Michigan in Wisconsin, and got to ride on the search and rescue boat at my first station. So that was a great experience. I was training to become a rescue swimmer so I could be the guy that was jumping out of helicopters to save other people's lives. But I couldn't save my dad's life. His cancer had come out of remission, and there weren't any other surgeries that could be done. So I spoke with the Coast Guard assignment officer, and they were able to find me a duty station about 15 minutes away from my home in Sarasota, Florida. So every weekend I would just go home and try to spend as much of the little time that we had left together. So this was the first time in my life that I heard the term financial freedom, and it actually started to make sense to me. I wanted to be able to control my time so that way I could visit my dad, so I didn't have to be stuck to a 9 to 5. So I tried every different business that you could think of, thinking that this was going to be the business that was going to change my life and give me that time freedom back. I started mobile home investing, crypto, Forex, YouTube channel. I tried all these different things. I even spent all my savings to hire developers to create an app. But all of this really just left me with a lot more headaches, no time, and no money. So when my dad passed away, I fell into a depression. And I'd given up the idea of trying to become financially free. I really just thought, this really isn't possible. It's not for me. Maybe I'd just be better off just sticking it out in the military, retiring, and just kind of doing the normal thing that everybody else does. So that's what we did. A couple of years later, after quitting entrepreneurship, I was married, and we decided to settle down. We bought a house. My wife said, why don't we rent out the basement on Airbnb to save some money? sounded like a good idea, so I just went online and I started researching to, see, who else is having success listing out their properties on Airbnb. And I quickly found out that there was hundreds, if not thousands, of people that had become financially free through Airbnb. Getting our basement ready, it took 4 months, nearly $20,000 with renovation costs. We were dealing with shady contractors. It was just a lot of stress. So I started reaching out to people online, just trying to ask them for advice, like how'd they get into this business and how'd they'd start. I wanted to learn how other people had achieved that financial freedom and gotten their time back. So I started recording those conversations and turned it into a podcast called Short-Term Rental Success Stories. And it quickly became one of the top Airbnb podcasts on iTunes. And at the same time, we started renting our basement and quickly found out that it was able to cover the cost of our mortgage, bringing in close to $2,000 a month. So it was great to finally be seeing some success, and what we initially thought was just going to be some side income actually gave us the confidence and the realization that this could be our path to financial freedom. So one day I got this message on Facebook from this guy who was interested in being on the podcast. He was local, so we agreed to meet up. And I'm so grateful that I did, because meeting this person completely changed my life. So by then I'd interviewed quite a few successful people on Airbnb who were doing well, but this guy, he was next level. Yeah, so he scaled the 24 properties in 18 months, none of which he owned. He was bringing in over $36,000 a month in net profit while working a full-time job in IT. He only had one part-time assistant and spent just about 4 hours a week messaging guests. Airbnb gave him the freedom to work, travel, and live life on his own terms. So this is how I met my eventual mentor, business partner, and now friend, John Bell. And I was able to convince John to start a podcast with me to help share his knowledge with other people. So learning from John completely changed my life. It gave me the freedom to be able to now leave the military, get my time freedom back, serve people from across the world, and have properties across the US. My dad missed out on most of my childhood, working hard to provide for our family. And I swore that I would never do that to my family. Passive income is what allows me the financial freedom to be able to spend more time with my family creating those memories. Through Airbnb, I found not just the freedom I was looking for, but my call to serve and life purpose. I may not be jumping out of helicopters to save lives right now, but I know that the work that I'm doing is able to save so many more by showing others how to achieve the same financial freedom that I was so desperately looking for. One of the proudest moments of my life was when my mom said that she could retire from her work through Airbnb by providing housing to traveling nurses. I hope that I can inspire you so that you don't have to go through all the trouble that I went through. The key to my success and why I can spend as much time as I want with my family now is because I found Airbnb and a coach who could help to get me there. If you're interested in learning how to start a business on Airbnb and creating life on your own terms, then I encourage you to join our webinar where you're going to discover how to make money with vacation rentals without owning anything, regardless of what the economy is doing. I hope to see you there.